I was reading some entertainment news online the other day, a couple days ago, in fact, and I just through that I had happened across a story involving Kylie Minogue, and it was about Neighbours, the Australian soap opera Neighbours, and it was also revealing or it was talking about how Neighbours was ending. The show was ending after this huge run from many years back. So I I don't watch the show now. I don't know if it's possible even to watch it here in Japan, but I have mentioned this before on this channel. But there was a period of my life when I was a child growing up where my parents and we moved as a family. We moved to England, and we lived in England for a good, say, 3 or 4 years or so in the late 80s, early 90s. And this was a time where I discovered a number of things, including watching Neighbours, the Australian soap opera Neighbours, on TV. And this was a very exciting time. I love that show, and it was so fun and watching it. They broadcast it in the afternoon, rather late in the afternoon, and so after school, if one was lucky, one could get home early enough, then one could watch or catch up with Neighbours, and so that was really exciting for me. And I this was around the period. And again, I've mentioned this before. Let me say, this is around the period of, I mentioned Kylie Minogue, and Jason Donovan, and this was also around the time where they released as a collaboration the song "Especially for You," which I loved. I love that song, and my dad, who he was a big fan of Kylie Minogue, and so we got the album, her album, which had "I Should Be So Lucky" and "Locomotion," I think, and that song. I love that song too. I Still Love You. Je ne sais pas pourquoi. So Je ne sais pas pourquoi. You're anyone fan of that? That's such a cool song. My dad, I think, really loved that song too. But anyway, so that was the Kylie. So yeah, so Charlene, right? And then after that, I was always very taken as a young boy watching the show. I had a crush on the character of Bronwyn. I don't know if anyone remembers the character of Bronwyn, but I was watching the show, and as a young boy, I was quite smitten with that. And also this was around the time to Mrs. Mangle, Harold, Marge. I'm sorry, Madge, and excuse me, and also the Paul Robinson, Stephen Dennis, right? And I didn't realize until I was watching or reading the news about Neighbours recently, and then watching clips of interviews on YouTube from Australian TV interviewing the stars of Neighbours. And in fact, Stephen Dennis is still on Neighbours. That's really cool. That is so cool. Paul Robinson, and the when I was watching it back in the late 80s or early 90s, this is also around the time, I remember this, where he had released his song, and he had his music video where he was walking down these darkened like alleys or rooms with a leather jacket on. It was really kind of a striking image, quite strikingly different, I would say, from what the kind of image that he struck being on Neighbours. But it was really cool. I love that song. It doesn't make you feel good when you've got somebody to love, or something. That was really cool. It kind of had an interesting mix of, like, I don't know, like Rod Stewart and Mark Allman. I thought it was really cool. So yeah. Anyway, so that this was around the time. Yeah, you could watch it on Top of the Pops, that show too, Top of the Pops on British TV. That was really cool show. Incidentally, about Top of the Pops, what was it, would always be around in the evening on TV. It's like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or something like that on TV. It was really cool. There was that one song around this time, which was it was the singer whose name is Damien, and he was singing his cover version of the song Time Warp. And Time Warp is, of course, one of the numbers from the Rocky Horror Show, Rocky Horror Picture Show. So he was doing a cover, and it was this nice, let me tell you, it's astounding. Right, it was very cool. Time is fleeting. It's just a jump. Oh, it was very cool. I remember, yeah, the Damien Time Warp song. Does anyone know that one? So it's just a jump to the left, and you have in the background some like kind of like a beatbox type of effect. Like jump, 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 and then a step to the. Oh, so cool, so cool. Oh gosh, and there it had a great music video, and I think you can still, uh, if you do a search for Damien Time Warp on YouTube, I'm sure something will come up. So maybe I should try to check out the Damien Time Warp again. That's such a cool video. But and then that was those were very good times indeed. Speaking of music too, this was sometime after we moved from the United Kingdom, and we moved back to the United States for a little bit. My family and I was growing up, and then going into middle school and high school. Every once in a while, there would be the occasion of having a visit or paying a visit back to London. And I remember one occasion where I was visiting London and just staying for a couple days, and then I had some free time on my hands. I was walking around, and I went to a record store in London, and I was able to find the record album of what was at the time the soundtrack of the James Bond film The Living Daylights. This is the Timothy Dalton film with as James Bond, and Mariam Dabo as Cara Milovi. One of the again, I was speaking about how maybe I was very smitten as a young boy with a certain character on Neighbours, and I must admit too that I was smitten, and I indeed am very smitten. I had a huge crush, and I indeed still do, a huge crush, a sort of film crush on Cara Milovi, Living Daylights. My goodness, yes, it was really, yes, what a character she is. And so we had that. I was able to find that album on record, and I remember I wanted to be sure that it wouldn't be bent or anything like that. So on the plane back, I was be sure that I held it I held it on my lap when I could, and I made sure that it didn't get bunched up with all the bags in the storage compartments. So I just made sure I held it. So it was a really big deal. And then sometime later, some years later, of course, this was around where the CD soundtracks of the James Bond films would be released. Speaking of music and Kylie Minogue and especially for you, and also Je ne sais pas pourquoi and others, The Living Daylights. I must say that soundtrack. And I don't know if I've mentioned it in the discussion of The Living Daylights that I had on this channel, maybe a year or so. I don't think I did, but the Living Daylights soundtrack, it has such a power over me. I am so enchanted by it. Of course, there are the exciting moments. Necros, the theme related to the character of Necros, and the great use of the synthesizer keyboard sound of John Barry, which was a fresh, inventive thing. We'd never had that in any type of John Barry score up to that, so it was a huge deal. So cool in terms of the action sequences and the like, and of course the introduction of a new Bond, Timothy Dalton, and what that meant in terms of trying to add something new and fresh to an already identifiable style in John Barry, which was great in and of itself, but then adding something new in terms of the levels, which just beyond mind-blowing. Definitely, it was really out of this world stuff. But what really got to me with the Living Daylights music, the James Bond film, The Living Daylights music, uh, John Barry, Aha, which was of course, there was the title song of Living Daylights, and also performed by Aha. Very, very memorable. Very, very memorable indeed. But for me, it would be also the Pretenders. The Pretenders. There's, of course, I spoke about Necros and the great, great theme, which is oftentimes referred to under the title of Where Has Everybody Gone, which has to be one of the great. I mean, if you think about James Bond songs like A side and B side, A side being the opening title, the James Bond song. So for the A side, you'd have here Aha and The Living Daylights, which is a great A side. But then the B side, you'd have the Pretender song. So Where's Everybody Gone? And also If There Was a Man. So the first song, Where's Everybody Gone? That is such a cool, it has that rumbling opening with the dun 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 dun. Oh, that's so cool. And so cool. And so there was that song. But when I mentioned how the music has such an overpowering effect upon me, it has to do with the song "If There Was a Man," which is one of the most like romantic songs and one of the most romantic melodies I have ever come across in any James Bond film. That has to be. It's so romantic, and the way that the theme is interwoven throughout. I have a similar feeling about the way in which "A View to a Kill" is used in a very soft and mellifluous way throughout the film "A View to a Kill," the film prior, in fact. John Barry's brilliant score for "A View to a Kill," and it's so romantic, so beautiful, like "Wine with Stacy," and that is ranks up there as one of my favorites. But going back to the Living Daylights, that music and how it's used in this lovely soft orchestral way, handled by John Barry with such great effect and delicacy. It's so romantic, and that those parts of the album, the soundtrack album, were so romantic that I was it was it was in college when I was an undergrad, and I was, and I still am. I very I got very awkward and felt very nervous and around people. And there was one girl that I was I was so much attracted to, and I had a huge crush on this other girl who's a student at school, and I was so smitten that I wanted to summon up the courage to ask her out for whatever it was, going to a nearby cafe or something in New Haven, because there were these like bookstore cafes and places you could go and just sit down and talk, or walk around and take a stroll or something. And so I so wanted to sort of ask this girl out just for an hour or a couple hours or something. Would you like to join me for lunch, or do you want to just talk about something? I'd love to do that. So I was trying in my very young teenage awkward way to summon up the courage. Next time I meet her, maybe I can ask her out for a little daytime date, as it were. And so I was trying. I couldn't do it. It was like I just again, just couldn't get out the words. I would be so overwhelmingly nervous that I couldn't do it. It's just nerves would get the better of me. So, so what I would do in order to try to get enough courage to just give it my best shot, and just to say, listen, do you want to just do you have some free time? Do you want to go out, have something? You just go to that little store there and sit down and have a little chat or something like that. And so I remember, yes, okay, I know that I'll see her at maybe, or we'll be in the same class here, and maybe there'll be a moment after class is over in the hallway or something. Okay, so Uh, they had these at the time. There were these you could play, Walkmans or Discmans, and so these portable players. You either had the cassette tape you could play on your Walkman or the Discman, which you could use a portable CD player. And I had both, but I think at the time my preference was for the Discman, because it was a very convenient thing. You could just play your favorite CDs and just you put it in your, it was kind of this big. It was the size of a CD plus a little bit extra in terms of the diameter, but still it was a very useful and very convenient portable device. And you could have headphones, and so I was listening to the soundtrack of The Living Daylights just moments before I knew that I would have my shot, my chance to ask this girl out. And so I thought it was now or never. And so it was maybe in the hallway. And yes, we were alone for a moment in the hallway, and I could sense that. And so just prior to that, I was so nervous, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it without some kind of push. And so I thought, oh, maybe the best way to get a push would be just to listen to If There Was a Man, and those moments of the John Barry score that I could listen to, and that wonderful romantic music, just to get me get, get me into that feeling of confidence and feeling of a type of I don't know, maybe a sense of I don't know, romantic abandon, I don't know, or adventure, I don't know. And so I listened to the soundtrack on my portable player device, listened to it, got up the courage, and then we were alone in some hallway or something for a brief moment. And I said, "Oh, we were, on friendly terms." And then I said, "Listen, I don't know if you have time. Do you want to go with something? You want to have a bite to eat?" She said, "Yes." "Oh, I'd love to. It's a great idea. Thank you." And so that was so wow. I was on cloud nine. We had made the arrangement, and we went out, and we had our meal, lunch, or whatever it was at the time, at the agreed upon time and date. And it was a lovely time, a nice conversation, a nice time, and that was it. That was my. I don't think anything happened after that. It wasn't any kind of continuing thing. We would see each other, but then it was what it was, and so it ended on those terms with that one time, that one, say, lunch date or something, and then that was it. And but at least I could have the memory of or just recalling with great type of happiness and glee that I was able to summon up the courage to ask this girl out that I was very much attracted to. I was very attracted to, and it was such a pleasant conversation. I had so much fun. I was really on cloud nine. It was really great, and I have the Living Daylights soundtrack to thank for being able to give me that confidence and courage, just enough courage to ask this girl out for a little, because I'm not good with this stuff. I've never been good with that. I always get nervous when it comes to things like that, and I always got nervous when it came to things like that. So I don't. This is something that I needed all the help I could get, and so I'd like to think that yes, on that occasion, the help that I needed came in the form of the music, the soundtrack music of the James Bond film, The Living Daylights. So, wow, yeah.